The boy had never thought one small act, sharing food with a beggar, could shake the stars. Yet here he was, standing beside her, no longer just a stranger under a hood, but the last living heir of a fallen empire. Across the galaxy, voices rose. Some shouted in fear, warning of war if she returned. Others whispered in hope, dreaming of freedom if she led again. In every shadowed corner, in every market, in every council hall, her name spread like fire. But in the underground tunnels, far from the noise, it was quiet. The girl sat by a dim light, her hood thrown aside, her glowing eyes steady. The boy sat across from her, still trying to understand what he had stepped into. "You do not know what you have done," she said softly. "By standing with me, you carry my burden now. Enemies will hunt you. Leaders will curse you. You will lose the peace you once had." The boy looked at her, his expression calm despite the storm in his chest. "Maybe. But if the galaxy changes because of this, then it's worth it." For the first time since he met her, she smiled. It wasn't the broken smile of a beggar. It was the quiet smile of someone who still believed, deep inside, that hope could survive. Above them, in the vast night sky, fleets began to move. Old empires stirred. Traders armed themselves. Rebels painted her sigil, the silver markings of her bloodline on walls and ships. A single truth had woken the galaxy. The heir had returned, and she was not alone. The boy adjusted the strap of his small bag, his eyes meeting hers. "So, where do we go now?" Her glowing eyes shone brighter. "We go where they do not expect us. We gather those who still remember, and we show them that a beggar can rise again." He laughed softly, shaking his head. A beggar, who was never really a beggar. She tilted her head, her voice firm yet gentle. "No, a queen who learned what it means to be hungry, broken, and forgotten. And now I will lead not with a crown, but with truth." Silence followed. It was not empty silence, but heavy, filled with meaning. The boy stood, offering his hand. "Then let's start." She took it. For a moment, their hands held like equals, not human and alien, not beggar and traveler, not queen and servant, but two souls standing against the galaxy. Somewhere far away, powerful rulers sat in dark halls, furious at the news. Somewhere else, rebels lit fires of celebration, and in countless worlds, ordinary people looked to the stars and whispered of hope. The beginning of change had come. And it all started because one human refused to walk away from a hooded stranger. The hood was gone, and the secret could not be hidden anymore. In the silent tunnels beneath the city, the boy stared at her glowing skin, the silver markings across her face, the green fire of her eyes. He already knew she was not just a beggar. But now the galaxy knew too. It began with a single soldier. One of the guards who had chased them had seen her face. He ran back, shouting into a communicator. Within minutes, orders spread across the city. Checkpoints doubled, streets locked down, posters flashed across neon screens. Wanted, the heir of the fallen throne. But the city could not contain a secret this big. Traders carried whispers to other worlds. Smugglers took the story with them into the dark lanes between stars. Refugees spread it from planet to planet like fire across dry grass. The lost princess lives. She is not dead. A human walks with her. In great halls of power, the news fell like thunder. On the council world, rulers with jeweled crowns struck their tables in anger. If she rises, our rule ends, one hissed. We buried her bloodline. How dare she return? On the outer colonies, rebels lit fires and painted her silver mark on broken walls. The air is alive, they cried. The galaxy has hope again. On hidden stations, mercenaries sharpened their blades. She will pay in blood. Whoever brings her head will be rich. Everywhere, her name returned to life, a name people had feared to even whisper for years. And in the middle of it all was the human boy. He had no title, no army, no ship of war. But his choice had made him part of the storm. In a small safe house deep beneath the city, the boy sat with her. The hooded stranger was no stranger anymore. She sat straight now, no longer crouched like a beggar. The light of the room caught the silver lines on her face, making them glow softly. "You see what has happened," she said, her voice calm but heavy. "They know I live, and because of you, they know a human stands beside me." The boy shifted uneasily. "Then why don't you run farther? Hide again?" She shook her head. "I have hidden enough. My enemies already sharpen their knives. My people already whisper my name. Hiding will only give the galaxy back to tyrants." He stared at her. She was not the same girl he had met in the rain. There was strength in her voice now, the kind of strength that could lead armies. "But what about me?" he asked. "I'm just one man. I can't fight empires." Her eyes glowed brighter as they locked on his. "No, human. You don't fight empires. You light sparks, and sparks spread." The boy's chest tightened. He thought of the moment he had given her bread. That simple act was now burning across the stars. Above them, fleets prepared, some to destroy her, some to defend her. Worlds divided, rulers panicked, and rebels dreamed again. The galaxy had seen her face, and it could never look away again. The tunnel seemed endless. The boy and the hooded girl ran until their lungs burned, until the noise of the guards finally faded behind them. Water dripped from pipes above, echoing in the silence. Their footsteps slowed, and they stopped near a wide chamber where dim blue lights hummed along the walls. The girl leaned against the cold stone, breathing heavily. She clutched her hood tight, as if afraid even the shadows might see her face. The boy wiped rain and sweat from his brow. "We can't run forever," he said quietly. "Sooner or later they'll catch us." Her glowing eyes flickered beneath the shadow of her hood. "They will never stop. As long as I hide, I am prey. As long as I wear this hood, I am nothing but fear." Her voice trembled, but there was steel under it too. She pushed away from the wall, stepping into the faint light of the chamber. The boy could see her hands shake as she reached up slowly. "Wait," he said, nervous. "What are you doing?" She looked at him, her eyes burning brighter. "You deserve to know what you chose to protect." And then, with one motion, she pulled the hood back. The boy's breath caught. Her face shone in the dim light like something out of legend. Her skin was... The sound of boots grew louder. The guards were back, their scanners sweeping in wider arcs, flooding the dark alley with cold white light. The human boy's heart pounded in his chest. He could run. He could leave her behind, pretend none of this had ever happened. But his eyes kept returning to the hooded girl gripping his arm. Her hands trembled, but her grip was strong, desperate. Those glowing eyes beneath the hood held him in place. "You still have time," she whispered quickly. "Go. Forget me. If they catch us together, you will die with me." The boy swallowed hard. Part of him wanted to listen. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't a hero. He was just a traveler with nothing but a small bag and a few coins. Why should he risk his life for someone he had only just met? But then he remembered her voice when she begged for food. He remembered the way the crowd had looked away, the way the city itself seemed to fear her, and he remembered the brief glimpse of her true face. Noble, scarred by sorrow, but filled with something powerful. "Why do they want you dead?" he whispered urgently. "Because I remind them of the truth," she said. Her words were sharp, like a knife cutting through the noise. "Because I am proof of a lie they built their empire on. If they erase me, no one will ever know. If I live, the galaxy will change." The boy shivered. He didn't understand it all, but he understood enough. She was not just running for herself. She was running for something much bigger. The guards turned into the alley. Their scanners lit up the rain, bright beams flashing against the walls. Voices barked orders in a harsh alien tongue. The girl's grip tightened on his arm. "Decide, human. Now." The boy closed his eyes for a heartbeat. Fear clawed at him, whispering to run. But another voice, quieter and stronger, rose in his chest. A human voice. He opened his eyes. "I'm not leaving you." The girl's breath caught. For a moment her glowing eyes softened, almost shining with relief. The boy pulled her to her feet. "Come on. We move." They ran. The alley twisted, narrow and wet, with broken lights buzzing overhead. The guards shouted, chasing close behind. Boots slammed against stone. The scanner's beams swept dangerously close, bouncing off metal walls. The boy led her down a side path, through a half-broken gate, into a tunnel that smelled of rust and old water. It was dark, but he moved with quick steps, heart racing. "Do you even know where you're going?" she asked breathlessly. "No," he admitted, "but anywhere's better than here." For the first time, he heard a sound from her that wasn't fear or sadness. A soft laugh, tired but real. The tunnel opened into an underground passage. Strange alien graffiti glowed faintly on the walls, guiding the way deeper. The guards' footsteps echoed faintly behind them, but for now, they had escaped. The girl leaned against the wall, pulling back her hood slightly to catch her breath. "You made your choice," she said softly. The boy nodded, his chest still heaving. "Yeah, I guess I did." Her eyes glowed brighter, and for a moment, he thought he saw respect there, maybe even trust. But deep down he knew the truth. This was only the beginning. His choice had tied his fate to hers. Whatever storm was coming for her was now coming for him too. The human boy could not forget the glow of her eyes. Even hidden again beneath the hood, they seemed to burn through the shadows. The beggar ate quietly now, taking small bites of the bread he had given her, but her hands still trembled. He stayed near, curiosity pulling him closer than caution. The guards had moved on, but the air felt heavy, as if danger had not truly passed. Finally he spoke. "You're not just some poor stranger, are you? Who are you really?" The beggar froze. For a long moment she said nothing. Then, in a voice low and sharp, she answered, "If I tell you, human, you may not live to see tomorrow." The boy blinked, his chest tightening. Her words sounded more like a warning than a threat. He leaned in. "Then why are you here? Why hide like this?" The beggar's hood shifted as she sighed. She looked around to be sure no one was listening, then whispered, "I was not always a beggar. Once I stood in halls of light and power. Once I had a name that shook the stars." The boy's eyes widened. What happened? Her voice grew bitter. Betrayal, lies, a crown stolen, a family destroyed. They hunted me through worlds, stripped me of everything, and left me to rot in the shadows. If they discover me alive—" She shook her head, the hood swaying. "Galaxies will burn again." The boy's stomach twisted. This wasn't just some poor girl begging for scraps. She was someone the whole city, and maybe the whole galaxy, was afraid of. He whispered, "You're royalty." The beggar looked up sharply, her glowing eyes piercing through the shadows for just a second. "I was, once, but now I am nothing." Her words hung heavy in the air. The boy tried to make sense of them. Royalty, betrayed, hunted. These were not things an ordinary human could touch. And yet here he was, standing in the rain with her. "Why tell me this?" he asked softly. "Because," she said, her voice trembling, "you gave me food when no one else dared. You looked at me and did not turn away. And because I have no choice, I need help. I need a human's help." The boy frowned. "Why me? I'm no soldier, no hero." Her voice hardened. "Because humans are different. I have seen it. You are not bound by our chains of blood and power. You choose. And that choice frightens them." The boy felt a strange shiver run through him. In her words, he sensed both hope and desperation. Before he could answer, a shout echoed down the alley. The guards were returning, their scanners brighter than before. Someone must have reported seeing her. The beggar grabbed his arm suddenly, her grip surprisingly strong. "You must decide now," she whispered. "Walk away, and you may live in peace. Stay with me, and you step into danger that will never let you go." The boy's throat went dry. He looked into the shadow of her hood, where those glowing eyes burned like green fire. For the first time, he realized this night was not about kindness anymore. It was about survival, and maybe destiny. The rain slowed, but the night still felt heavy. The human boy stayed close to the hooded alien beggar, his heart beating fast. The guards were moving through the crowd, their glowing scanners cutting beams of light across the wet street. Each time the beams touched someone, that person froze, showing their identity before being allowed to pass. The beggar pressed her back to the wall, lowering her head as if she wanted to disappear into the shadows. Her trembling hands clutched the food he had given. She did not eat. She only held it tightly, as if afraid it would vanish. The boy leaned closer. "Why are you so afraid of them?" he whispered. The beggar shook her head quickly. "Don't ask. Don't speak. Just stay away from me." Her voice was sharp this time, but also broken, like someone who had lost everything. The guards came closer. Their boots hit the stone with a heavy rhythm. The boy could feel the tension spreading through the street. People lowered their eyes, moving aside, making space for the soldiers. The beggar pulled her hood even lower, almost hiding her whole face. And then it happened. A sudden gust of wind pushed through the narrow street. The hood slipped just for a second. For the first time, the boy saw her face. She was not like any alien he had ever seen. Her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly under the neon light. Strange markings, thin as silver lines, curved across her cheeks and neck like living tattoos. And her eyes, those glowing green eyes, shone brighter than the signs above. They were deep, full of sadness, but also full of power. The boy froze, staring. For a moment he forgot the guards, forgot the rain, forgot everything. She was beautiful, but not in a way that felt ordinary. She looked like someone from legends, someone who didn't belong in the dirt of this city. The beggar gasped softly and pulled the hood back down, covering her face again. She turned sharply toward the boy, her voice tense. You saw nothing. Understand? Nothing. The boy nodded slowly, though his mind raced with questions. Who was she? Why would someone like her be hiding here, alone and starving, like a beggar? The guard's scanners lit the alleyway. The boy's heart jumped as the light swept dangerously close. The beggar pressed herself into the wall, whispering a few words he didn't understand. They sounded old, heavy with meaning. The scanner beam passed by without stopping. The boy swallowed hard. That was close, he muttered. The beggar did not answer. She kept her head low, her breathing fast, her hands shaking as she held the food. The guards moved on, their footsteps fading into the distance. Slowly, the noise of the city returned. Voices, footsteps, the buzzing neon signs. But the boy couldn't stop staring at the hooded figure. That brief glimpse had changed everything. She wasn't just a beggar. She was someone important, someone dangerous. The boy took a deep breath. You don't have to tell me everything, he said carefully. But I think you're not who you pretend to be. The hooded girl turned toward him. For the first time, she let him see just a sliver of her glowing eyes beneath the shadows. Her voice was calm now, almost sad. You are right, human. I am not. And with that, the mystery only grew deeper. The night was wet and heavy with rain. Neon lights flickered across the crowded alien city, painting the streets with colors of blue and red. Hundreds of beings walked fast, their faces hidden behind masks and long robes. The air smelled of smoke, metal, and damp stone. In the middle of all this movement, one figure sat still. She was small, sitting against a cold wall with her knees pulled close to her chest. A hood covered her face. Her clothes were torn and dirty. To anyone passing by, she looked like nothing more than a beggar, weak, forgotten, and unwanted. Most people didn't even look at her. The few who did turned their eyes away quickly, as if afraid. A young human walked down that same street. He looked different from the rest. His blonde hair was damp from the rain, and his simple jacket carried the dust of travel. He wasn't rich and he wasn't strong, but his eyes searched with curiosity. He was not afraid of the city like most travelers. As he passed, he heard a faint voice. Food, please. He stopped. The voice came from the hooded figure. The words were soft, weak, almost breaking apart in the rain. The human looked around. No one else cared. The crowd kept moving, their footsteps splashing in the puddles. He stepped closer. Are you hungry? He asked, his voice unsure. The figure lifted her head just a little. Beneath the hood, he saw only a glimpse. Two glowing eyes staring back at him. They were not like human eyes. They were brighter, sharper, almost shining. For a second he felt a chill run down his spine. Yes, she whispered. The boy reached into his small bag. Inside was the last of his simple meal, bread and dried fruit. He hesitated. He didn't have much for himself. But something about those eyes, something about the way she looked so fragile yet so strange, made his heart tighten. Slowly, he held out the food. The beggar's hand reached forward. It was thin, almost trembling, but graceful. She took the food carefully, as if it was the most precious thing she had ever touched. From the corner of his eye, the human noticed something strange. A group of alien guards stood at the far end of the street. They were scanning the crowd with glowing devices. People moved quickly, stepping aside, avoiding their gaze. The beggar froze, pulling her hood lower over her face. Don't tell them, she whispered suddenly, her voice sharp with fear. The human frowned. Why would guards care about a weak beggar? He didn't understand, but his chest tightened with curiosity and unease. The city felt colder, and the sound of the guards' heavy boots echoed closer. The boy stood still, his mind racing. Who was this hooded stranger? Why was everyone so afraid of her? And what danger had he just stepped into by giving her food? The rain fell harder, washing the streets in neon reflections. The boy's hand still hung in the air, empty now, while the beggar clutched her food tightly under the shadows of her hood. Something told him this was only the beginning.